A class of high school students are forced to play a deadly game that can literally make their heads explode. Moreover, they don't even know why, who, and how they are going to win it. This is the story of ShunTakahata, an ordinary teenager who feels his life is too dull. He's been skipping school to play video games for weeks, even complaining to a higher power about the boredom. Little does he know that's about to change. One day, Shun is in class, and everything seems normal. But suddenly, his head explodes, revealing a traditional Daruma doll. This doll symbolizes a Buddhist monk who achieved enlightenment after meditating for 9 years, known for its cut-off eyelids and withered limbs. When you get a Daruma doll, you can make a wish by painting its eyes. But in this story, this Daruma isn't a friendly god. The students who try to run have their heads blown off. The deadly game has begun, Daruma San Ga Koronda. They can only move when the doll's back is turned, saying the phrase Daruma San Ga Koronda. They don't understand the objective yet, and some accidentally die from moving or screaming. Shun wishes for his boring life back. Meanwhile, Daruma keeps killing, covering the floor with red balls. The classroom becomes a death trap. Satake realizes the game's concept. They need to press the button on Daruma's back. But when a student rushes, Daruma turns quickly. They notice a timer. They have only a minute to finish the challenge or they'll all die. More students try and fail, leaving only Satake and Shun. With 30 seconds left, Satake comes up with a risky plan: to boost Shun over the bodies and balls to hit the button. In the final seconds, Shun takes the leap, pushes the button, and Daruma shouts, "Game over!" They've won. However, Daruma explains that only Shun is the true winner because he pushed the button. The doll leaves an ominous message. It says Shun is now a mouse and the cat is coming. Ichika, who survived her class's game, joins them, but they can't call the police due to a lack of signal. Daruma warns of the cat's arrival. Shun and Ichika try to escape but are trapped inside. They stumble into the gym where they find more students, some dressed as mice, and a message on the floor that says, "Hit the cat bell." Confused but determined, Shun and Ichika await the cat. Suddenly, the gym floor opens, revealing a massive maneki neko, which is considered a symbol of good luck in Japanese history. But in this deadly game, the giant cat grabs the first student dressed as a mouse. The rush through the gym begins as Maneki, a swift and menacing cat, starts devouring students in their costumes. Ichika and Shun notice a ball shaped like those little cat bells, and they also see a basketball lodged in Maneki's neck. With just 9.5 minutes remaining, the challenge is to score using that small bell. Shun, an expert in basketball, explains the goal to everyone, and Kakawa requests the ball. He spent his whole life training for this very moment, practicing 500 throws every day, becoming a true expert. However, their perfect throw is thwarted by the cat, which holds the bell in its paws and blocks their attempts, even sending Kakawa crashing into a concrete wall. Shun realizes that their rat costumes have drawn the cat's aggression. Even without the rat costumes, the creature uses a coin to attack its victims. When it targets Ichika, Shun, dressed as a crazy mouse, attempts to distract the cat and urges the others to throw the ball. Then something unexpected happens. Shun hears the cat whispering a sentence. Maneki repeatedly says, my back itches," but only Shun can hear it. The secret lies in the costume's ears, allowing him to understand the cat's meowing. This clue is only audible to the mice. With this knowledge, Shun climbs onto the cat's back and begins frantically scratching its itchy back with a rope. Maneki enjoys the scratching but demands more. Realizing that one person alone can't satisfy the cat, Ichika and the others join Shun's mission, using brooms to scratch the cat's back tirelessly. Their strategy works, and Maneki falls asleep. Now all they have to do is throw the bell around the cat's neck. But an argument erupts among them about whether it's a team effort or only one person should hit the bell, like in the previous challenge. Amid the commotion, the cat wakes up and unleashes a new skill, slicing the students with its deadly claws. However, Shun comes up with another plan when he notices a damaged basketball. He takes the bell, the torn ball, calls Ichika, and heads to the equipment room. To delay the cat's identification, Shun and Ichika split up, each carrying one of the cloths, one with the bell and the other with an ordinary ball. The cat observes Shun with the basketball, inadvertently revealing their strategy. So, the bell must be with Ichika. She attempts to throw it, but the cat swiftly blocks her, launching an attack. However, Shun, a true genius, has hidden the bell inside the fake basketball. The cat lags in its response, and the ball heads toward the basket. Unfortunately, it hits the rim and falls outside. But suddenly, Amaya emerges, hanging from the cat's head in the basket, and sends the bell in, concluding the game. Amaya, a psychopathic student, has already killed others with his sword, finding pleasure in doing so. The second challenge is complete, and the giant cat begins releasing sleeping gas, causing the remaining students students to fall into a deep slumber. As the students wake up, they find themselves in giant cubes floating above various cities around the world. In one cube above Tokyo, ShunTakahata is confused but reunited with an old schoolmate, Takase, who had transferred a few years ago. Taira and Taka, fellow survivors of the first two games, join them. Noticing that everyone's last names begin with T, Shun realizes that they're separated into different rooms alphabetically. Determined to find Ichika, Shun tries to open the locked door. However, Taira, an arrogant super genius, dismisses his attempts, suggesting they wait for the next game to begin. Now that the bear has outlined the rules, it's time for the first question. What's your favorite food? This seems like an easy start, and each of them quickly provides their answers. However, the polar bear senses deception in the air, and the group has unwittingly broken the game's sole rule. They have 2 minutes to identify the liar among them. After a minute of accusations, suspicion falls on the boy whom Shun and Takaze had assisted in the previous challenge. His favorite food is parsley, an unusual choice, and this leads some to believe he's the liar. With the liar chosen, the white bear crushes the boy with its palm, reducing him to a pulp, and proceeds to its next question. The second question is straightforward. Do you like Shun? A guy named Amaya declares his admiration for Shun, as do Ichika and Takase. When it's Shun's turn to answer, he replies that he doesn't like himself. Once again, the bear senses deception among them. As an argument ensues, Shun ponders why someone would lie when telling the truth means they'll be spared. The bear then reveals its true purpose, to sow discord among them by posing as one of its own companions in disguise, creating chaos until they eliminate each other. The students from another school, Shun, Ichika, and Amaya's group, suspect Takase, as they all know each other well from their school days, except for her. Although Shun and Ichika try to defend her, Amaya and the two boys from the other school vote to accuse Takase. With seconds remaining, Takase claims her love for Shun but is obliterated before she can finish her declaration. As the bear prepares to ask its next question, Shun interrupts, revealing the bear's true identity as the liar. Takase's blood has exposed its black bear disguise, which makes it clear that it has been lying all along, manipulating them into believing there was a traitor among them. Enraged by their discovery, the black bear attacks, revealing its true form. However, during the struggle, it inadvertently shatters the ice on the ground and becomes trapped in a geyser, slowly roasted by the scalding steam. With another challenge won, the 5 remaining students proceed to the location of the final game. There, they encounter Russian dolls who explain the rules of the last challenge, known as Kick the Can. In this game, there's an Akuma, demon, tasked with placing a can in the center of a circle. The other students have to hide and remain undetected until sunset, or until the Akuma spots them after placing the can. If the Akuma sees someone's face, they have to shout the person's name and step on the can, capturing that participant, who will be confined until the game's end. However, captives can still be saved if someone kicks the can. But here's the twist. The can is rigged with an explosive, so whoever kicks it to save the prisoners will lose their life in the process. In essence, the goal for the hidden participants is to kick the can before everyone is caught, while the Akuma aims to capture at least 3 people before sunset. Unluckily for them, the straw draw selects Amaya as the Akuma. With the game underway, the students scatter to their hiding spots, assuming the Akuma will take some time to reach the can. However, Amaya swiftly kicks one of the Russian dolls into the can, toppling it and starting the hunt. In a short span of time, Amaya swiftly locates the 2 students, who put up a fight but are eventually overpowered and taken to the cell as Amaya steps on the can. He spots Ichika observing him, revealing their location. Determined to capture the pair, Amaya races toward their hiding spot, knowing that Akuma is closing in on them, signaling the end of the game. Shun devises a plan, securing a rope to a heavy object and descending while calling for Ichika. However, Ichika opts to try to hold the door to delay Amaya's approach. Unfortunately, she can't reach in time and is quickly discovered. Shun, after escaping, finds medieval armor and decides to utilize it to his advantage. As the sun nears the horizon, Shun emerges from his hiding place clad in heavy armor, hampering his movements. Nevertheless, he confronts Amaya, dropping his sword and attempting to flee, but getting cornered near the edge. Amaya, confident that he can only capture someone after seeing their face, approaches Takahata, intending to remove remove his helmet and end the game. However, Shun, once again displaying his cleverness, has fastened the helmet to his armor with a steel chain. In a bid to save time, Takahata hurls himself off the edge into the sea, dragging Amaya along, who struggles to avoid falling into the water. As he plunges into the sea, Shun discards his armor and begins scaling the wall to return to the game area and kick the can. Amaya, burdened by the armor, has to expend considerable effort to catch up. Just as he manages to free himself from the armor, Shun, worn out, reaches the can. Takahata reaches the can first and, in a sacrificial act to save his friends, kicks it away, but it fails to explode. As the sun sets, the Russian dolls appear, declaring Shun the champion. But why didn't the can explode? Simply because the dolls had lied, revealing that they'd done so to make the game more thrilling. As the game concludes, Amaya is distraught by his defeat, fearing for his life. However, the demented dolls assure them that it was merely a game and that no one would die. As a reward for their progress in the challenges, each of the youngsters receives a popsicle they need to consume to leave the place. While enjoying their popsicles, Shun converses with his friends and makes many plans, unaware that the true final challenge lies in the popsicle itself, a deadly challenge indeed. It turns out that the fate of the students is determined by what is written on the wooden stick of their popsicle. If it reads, "You live," that person will survive, and if it reads, "You die," the outcome is grim. Shun finds "You live" on his stick, expressing his relief. However, his joy is short-lived as he glimpses Ichika's stick, which bears the ominous message, "You die." In the end, the sole survivors of this perilous game are only Shun and Amaya. Loved this recap? Don't miss the next one. Subscribe, like, and comment which movie we should dive into next. Your pick could be our next spotlight, and turn on the notifications so you stay alerted of our next post.